Hey everyone, listen, it's about reinventing yourself. I feel like the channel could have gone in two different directions at this point. We could have stayed aspiring towards the Matt D'Avella, Nathaniel Drew, better ideas. You know, keep it rated PG. Mm-hmm. But of course, you know, inspired by the likes of First Man, who I've been watching more and more of. And of course, who could ignore Hamza? YouTube has been shoving Hamza down our throats in suggested and recommended.
He's the new hot guy in town.
And quite frankly, you know, I don't mind having him shoved down my throat.
Yeah.
What it do, what it does, where you been, where you was, what it ain't, what it is. Face in the mud, I really be hating in the mud. Said I can't pick it up, but I did. Y'all know Goon put too much bass in the sub. Cup full of blood and I gave it a chug. Wait till your neighbors get all snugged in, play this real loud where you live.
Anyway, listen, before we get going, this video is sponsored by Shortform. I actually owed these guys a video back in like October, and then I just couldn't get my act together. An amazing quote that I came across recently is, "A peasant who reads is a prince in the making." I actually really resonate with that because if I really think about it, so much of my life has been changed by the books I've read. In moments of desperation, in moments where like I didn't have a lot going on, honestly it was the insights from certain books that motivated me to get going. And I think you constantly have to be ingesting new information, taking in new thoughts and ideas, and seeing what you can apply to your life so that you can make progress. Shortform makes the world's best guides to nonfiction books. They're like book summaries on steroids, super detailed so that you get the book's key points at a deep level. They add smart insights like connecting what one author thinks about another author. You end up understanding the ideas at a deep level and building awesome connections between ideas. You can learn a book at different levels. For a 10-minute overview, check out the one-page summary, which is already better than other apps. Then go deeper and read the full guide. Some books, they have many amazing ideas in them. Some is just a one idea book, and maybe you can just read that book summary first before you get going. So if you're looking for a way to have access to more knowledge, definitely check out Shortform and their book summaries. Go to my link, shortform.com/Captain Sinbad, to receive 5 days of unlimited access and an additional 20% discounted annual subscription. Why not get more information and why not get more knowledge? Why not try to make yourself better? You know, as they say, the sexual marketplace is becoming more cutthroat.
Is it?
It's rough out here.
Have people been saying that? Is that like a popular thing recently?
Certain people in like the red pill, maybe even black pill communities, they've been saying that sort of thing. Yeah. And I mean, it's a hilarious thing. So dude, the theme of today's video is young men are not as attractive, or why your early 20s suck. What are your thoughts on that? Like, were you a slayer back in your early 20s?
Definitely, there's never been like, no one would ever use the word slayer to describe me in my early 20s.
Yeah.
Or before then. I'd say my incompetence with women started when I was like 14. And then I was like, you know, at that age, you're like so crazy. You want women so bad.
Testosterone is just, you don't even know what's going on with you. Honestly, you're just jerking it all the time.
All the time. And that's why you get into NoFap. That's why you subscribe to Captain Sinbad. Subscribe. Hit the bell icon.
Yeah, but we didn't know what that was. In fact, we had only just discovered masturbation. Why would we?
Yes.
Why would we get into the other stuff?
Even like out of high school and into college, I just remember being like confronted with the idea that like, oh, at least for me, I didn't have like the cultural background where it's like sex was taboo or anything. It was like, you're supposed to have sex. If anything, there's like this immense pressure to have sex with anyone as fast as you can, just to say you've done it. And I would always come up against this like roadblock trying to talk to women in college where I'd find myself just speechless, nervous. And I think a lot of it was because when you're a 20-year-old kid, what do you really have going for you? What do you really have to talk about? Like when you would talk to women, where would you kind of get tripped up?
I just wasn't able to express my desire. I think I was ashamed of my desire for them. And then I think somehow I just had this feeling in the back of my mind, if there's a very pretty girl, I'm just not good enough for her.
Yeah. And
I don't know why that is, because I would, not to fucking beat this point to a head, but I would constantly get told that I'm good looking, or that I'd get told, I'm usually not into Indian guys. I'm not into Indian guys, but you're actually pretty good looking for an Indian guy. Maybe that is something that would really mess with my head at the time, because I'm like, for an Indian guy, oh, so Indians are actually very low on the
totem pole.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say like, I never got anything like that.
Yeah.
No one ever told me I was good looking.
Yeah.
And yet I also just experienced this like immense lack of confidence where it's like I would still like see the women that I wanted, you know, very attractive women that I was attracted to, and just be like, I have no shot. So like, what's even the point of trying? You're immediately just discouraged. And I think the problem for me is then it's like, do I lower my standards? I don't want to. So what do I do then? And as a 20-year-old, you're filled with all this like angst and sexual desire.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was incapable of expressing it as well.
Yeah.
And I think it was just because I felt like the couple times I did, it just never panned out. I was always told like, oh, I'm just not interested in you. I'm sorry. And it's like kept cordial, and you will fuck off after that because what else can you do?
Yep. Even if you are a good looking young guy, men and women, but they just value completely different things. Like women do value when you're like a good looking guy.
Yes.
In fact, they value it a lot. I think more than ever.
Yeah.
Compared to the past. Like
Yeah.
your superficial looks have a lot of value, but they're much more attracted to just like your ability to like make moves in the world.
Correct.
And it's like, as a 21-year-old, I have no portfolio to show.
Nothing.
I have
You
nothing
have
going
nothing.
on. And not that we've done anything wrong.
No.
But a young girl, and you know, I hate saying this because of course a lot of young girls, they have hard times too. They have struggle
Yes.
too. But a young woman, it's not like she had to earn her looks necessarily.
No.
But her looks are enough. You know, her looks are all
Yes.
she needs. In fact, her looks will get her really far at that time. The attention will be through the roof.
Totally.
Insane.
You could say that like because men are almost like more shallow, like more willing to just take a girl at face value just on her looks.
Yep.
That she doesn't have to work as hard because, you know, like you said, women are attracted to a lot more than just looks. And not to say that that doesn't matter to us.
Yeah.
But like,
But it's so hard to push past that visceral response that we as men have.
yes.
It gets annoying in a way.
It really does.
Especially when I like am like diligent with a good nofap streak or something.
Yep.
It's like if you see an attractive woman, it's like arresting and it's annoying. You're like, I don't want to be a creep right now.
No. But I
Yeah.
mean, we've both had that experience
Yeah.
where it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Would you look at that woman?
But I don't think, unless you're like a 10 out of 10 good looking guy, I don't think they have that as much. I definitely, you know, I'm realizing now it's like, it's much more, you said like women don't have to work for it, but in a way we both have our advantages because as a guy, you get an opportunity as you get older
Yes.
to show off what you've built.
Correct.
So,
And I think that's where, like, for me and for you, it's like, I don't know about you, but there was a period where I was like transitioning from being able to get no women.
Yep.
And then starting to get my life cracking. And then I had things to talk about, things to kind of brag about, be confident about. It's like, oh, I built something on my own or with the help of my close friends. But I built something that's real, it's tangible. Now, for some reason, I'm confident around women. And it's like, I just remember those first few dates with women of like my standard that I held to be attractive.
Yep.
I would just sit at that table and I'd be an entertaining conversation, but in my head, I'm just like, what are you doing here? This has never worked for me before. Why are you here with me? And then it took a while to get used to the fact that, oh, like, I'm the shit.
Yeah, I'm attractive. I actually have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
It's almost like now you're fielding them. Like, are you worth my time?
Yeah.
Whereas before you were like, oh, this is great. I'm on a date.
Did you have that transition period where it was like you're on a date with a chick and you're like, God, you are it. I don't know what, like, this never worked for me before. What's going on?
Yeah, I think when I maybe first started even getting dates at all,
Yeah.
it was definitely a feeling of like, wow, you're very pretty.
Yeah.
How are we here?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say to young guys? Like, should you even bother if you're under 25?
Should you even bother? It's just like every experience I had, I know failed. I think there's just perhaps you should not go for women under 25, but I think you should keep in mind that like, just because you can't get chicks, I think there's this like bad tendency within the red pill community.
Yes.
To then like shun women and feel sort of almost like you've been gypped. Like you've gotten a raw end of the deal because no women will, and then you hate women, right?
Yeah, they're so shallow. They're hypergamous.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
and you
we're shallow
create
too.
this, you create this like horrid depiction of women in your head, and women are great. I think you should like interface with females often just to like get that feminine energy in your life. I think that's important. So if you have like female, like a mother, sisters, whatever. But I think dating should be reserved for when you've built something for yourself, right?
In fact, you know, like the young, really, really good looking guys, they can sometimes get into trouble. We were kind of talking about this while driving around for like some B-roll, whatever, some time ago. We're like, if you don't have that struggle that most young men do at an early age, where it's like you're just not attractive because you haven't built up a great body. You're not like wealthy. You don't have any assets.
Not articulate.
You're not articulate. You haven't traveled.
Life
you haven't read any books.
experiences, nothing.
But you're just super. But so unlike most guys who aren't attractive, you somehow are. You're like that 22-year-old like alpha Chad. You know.
Yeah. You're the meme.
You're the meme. Well, then you have the opportunity to just date around, sleep around, do all this stuff. But is that even what you're supposed to be doing? Like your 20s are to figure out, like, you are the level 5 spawn in RuneScape.
Yes.
You're supposed to be having a shitty time killing these rats and level 3 goblins right now. Like it's supposed to be that existential dread. If it isn't there when you're 22, something's wrong with you.
Something's wrong. Mine kicked in hard when I was 20. And
I was pre-med at the time. I was like trying to make my parents happy, just trying to like live up to the whatever. And I would get like a B+ on like quantum chemistry or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which is like B+ sounds fine, but it's not good enough to get into medical school in the US.
Yep.
So my GPA would be like a 3.2, 3.3. Yeah. And I would just be in like whatever. I practiced cello at the time. I'd be like in the locker room just crying or something, or like music room crying.
Yeah.
Not because I cared about being a doctor, but because I hadn't found the thing I was going to be great at in life.
Yep.
And that, if you haven't found that should eat you up alive.
It really should.
It should eat you up alive way more than the fact that women aren't attracted to you. Even though, of course, in some way, that's a big, big thing. It's like life itself is finding a woman, having a woman finding you attractive, you know?
Yeah, but I think it's a path. There's steps to it. And I think I definitely felt the same thing. I remember after I dropped out of college, I was still kind of like unsure of how I was going to make it work. And I just remember like writing down on a piece of paper, like the only consequence of not going hard is that you'll end up average. And I put that shit on the wall and I looked at that every single fucking day of my life. And I was just like, you got to figure it out.
You got to figure it out.
And women were like the last thing on my mind at that point. Like, yeah. I mean, like, obviously you're a man, so whatever, it comes up. But
the energy of that is still there.
Yeah.
But the much more pressing thing, like the Titanic is sinking. Like I'd rather get off the boat or whatever.
And speaking of those like men, it's like I knew a few of those guys. I'm sure you did too.
The fucking really handsome,
great
guys.
looking guys. And I'm just, if you are that guy and you're watching, I'm just like, I haven't seen one of those guys now that I envy. You know, you might envy them when you're 20 and they're getting women and you're not.
Yep.
But I look at everyone around me now and I feel like I made the right decision, you know, by like pulling back, I taking my chips out of that, like trying to get women thing. Cause that's just the craze. It's the culture. And I think if you can like use all your willpower, cause it's going to take all of it to like focus on yourself. I know it sounds like corny, like, you know, I'm going to work on myself, but like, when you're in your early 20s, it's not going to work that well for you anyways. You're not going to get the girls that you will be getting in your mid to late 20s.
Yeah. I have always hated those upper level chads.
Yeah.
And I like had made it my life's determination. Like, I'm actually just going to be better than you in the long haul. I'm just going to play the long game. I'm just going to be like the sexy 60-year-old somehow.
Yes,
I'll find a way.
Yes.
You know, steroids, hair transplants, whatever it takes. But it also is funny how it is like the most guaranteed ROI. But in the moment, it feels terrible because it's the most guaranteed ROI to try to figure your life out.
Yes.
But when you're with a girl...
Yeah.
It kind of gets rid of that fear for that existential dread, because we still have it, because even though we've gotten to a certain level, Like this isn't.
It's not good enough.
We're not Charizards yet. We're Charmeleons. We're like we got to the second level.
Yeah.
Thank God we're not those little baby.
And
slimy.
Charmeleon's lit. I love being Charmeleon.
Yeah.
But it's not over.
He's almost got like a little mohawk
He's
thing
cool.
or whatever. Charmeleon is awesome. He's like an angry little dude.
Yes.
Which is exactly what we are.
Yeah, got a lot of fire inside.
We got a lot of fire inside, but like we're not the fully formed dragon yet, and that's all you want to be.
all you want to be.
I mean, the clock is ticking. We're gonna die someday.
Correct.
We have to become Charizards.
We speak about this dread often.
So often.
Yeah.
We actually like 90% of work as being a full-time YouTuber is like people think, oh, it's gonna be so great. Like I would love to quit my job to be a YouTuber. It's like you're actually battling the abyss every day.
Yeah, everything is on you. It all starts and ends with your ability to work.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And it's not just working. You can't just like, it's not like you have a job where the tasks are set for you.
Yeah.
We have to make these videos sell.
But the point I was trying to get at before I sidelined myself is like being with a woman, it makes you forget that for a little bit.
Yes, it does.
And I can only imagine those chat elites. They like don't even feel that existentialism for a bit because they could be like, well, I could just go on a date.
Yeah.
I could just go sleep around.
It's just another form. It's just escapism.
It's
but the thing is, I guess I remember going on dates in my early 20s.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember sitting across from these women who I knew were like not not somebody I wanted to date seriously, but maybe I wanted to try to have sex with them or something.
Yeah.
I just remember sitting there being in my head like there was a voice in there like, you're an idiot. You're wasting your goddamn time.
Yeah.
Go home and work. What are you doing? Get sleep, recover, do something. Like anything would be more valuable than this. This is a sincere waste of time. And I think, have you ever experienced that?
Well, I feel like you are an unusual man.
Fair.
Like in the sense that certain things already preoccupy you no matter what. Like some things are not, because he's so passionate, especially like you've got your own comedy channel, but your sentiments are so unique to you that I can only imagine. Like sometimes it's like, oh, you know how maybe like 1 in 10 of my Captain Sinbad videos, I could be like, only I could have made that.
Right.
Pretty much every one of your videos, I'm like, only he could have made that.
Fair.
You know, it's just weird. I mean, it's amazing, but it's so weird that it's like, obviously this is you.
Yeah.
So I can, and also like you are obsessed, but people don't notice this about Thomas like immediately. But the dude like you were probably like 160 pounds when I met you or something.
Yeah.
The dude is now like super buff, and he would just be talking about like, oh, I'm hitting 2 plates on the bench, and I would have no idea what he's talking about because I wasn't into lifting then.
Yes.
And then one day you just took your shirt off, and I was like, what? When did you do this? I'm like, oh yeah, it turns out you grind in the quiet, that compound effect kicks in.
Yep.
That's how you're supposed to actually. I wish I would have done that the whole time with every aspect of my life. I always wish I would have sacrificed more. All the sacrifices I've ever done, it has I can still show it today.
Yes.
But some of the people I've dated, you know, some of those 3-month
flings
escapades,
that you knew weren't serious.
Yeah,
like,
and it's like I have nothing to show for that time.
Yeah.
And I tried to like invest something into someone. I'd be like, I have nothing to show for this. It feels awful when you come out of those things. Even if you're not like emotionally hurt about, oh, there was a breakup or something. I'm emotionally hurt about the fact that I actually like put energy into someone and I have nothing to show for it now.
Yeah. Because I think you, like you said, you've seen the results when you put that energy into yourself, and you look at that as lost time essentially. I
was watching this video by Hamza, and he talked about how he was like 2 months into NoFap.
Yeah.
He had made this video where he was like, I'm 60 days on NoFap, and he's like, he very much has often talked about this philosophy of like, when you're young, you build yourself up. You kind of don't cash your chips in and invest time into women until it's really time, until you're like truly ready.
Yes.
And he was like, even though I know I should be investing in myself, I don't know when I'm supposed to cash my chips in because my desire is still there today.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys, you know, when you practice things like NoFap, it's like sometimes people go back and forth on whether NoFap is actually helpful.
Right.
Because even though I do find it gives me a surge of energy and like aggression just because I'm charged up sexually.
Yes.
It's very distracting, and it makes you desire the opposite sex more than ever.
Yep, totally.
And at some point you're like, is this how much? Because I do actually have more energy. I just tangibly feel more like I'm an edgier version of myself.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I don't know how to use all that energy up because it's like a surplus.
Yeah.
And he's like, when do I cash my chips in? Like, what do you think? How do you deal with this constant struggle, but basically being like a horny young man, and you want to achieve things, you want to erect your own skyscrapers, and you still want love. At the end of the day, so much of what we do is just to find love.
Yes, very naturally.
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, it's just like, it's hard. It is hard to be alone. It is hard to like work on yourself. It's a lonely path, I think. And you're going to like feel like you're missing out sometimes. I think you're going to feel those waves of doubt. But I think if you stick to whatever path you're pursuing, you will also be like gifted with those moments of like clarity where you are like, something paid off. Whether it's small, if you're 20 or 21, you know, the payoffs are like very small. But I feel like I remember the moments on the way where I was like, damn, something happened. Like something went from like 0 to 0.1. Whereas like if I hadn't spent that time, and I think with aging up, it is like this exponential curve, right? With the work you put in over the years, it's just like the compound effect, basically. Mm-hmm. Like the reason we're in our mid to late 20s and we're able to, in a sense, cash in our chips, spend time with women, date women freely, is because we spent our early 20s fucking hustling, right?
Yeah.
And it's not even like we've given up hustling, but we allow ourselves some freedom and some comfort. Whereas the early 20s version of me was a savage when it came to time. And like, I almost regret how much I like pulled away from society and my family, especially. But at the end of the day, I can't be like, it didn't work. It did. Yeah, but it sucked. There were a lot of times where it was really lonely.
Dude, I also feel like I'm entering that newbie phase a second time over.
Yeah.
You know, there's a while where I had broken up with my girlfriend. I was pretty bummed out.
Yep.
And I got on the dating apps and I thought, okay, look at my life now. Even though, you know, starting out, I was like this guy living at home talking about like sexual restraint and like, whatever. Retention, the power of your vital force and all that.
Yeah.
Then this like quizzical thought came into my mind. I'm like, oh, I'm actually like reasonably young, still like probably more successful than the average guy my age in terms of just whatever.
Statistically.
Yeah, statistically. I was like, I've got this dope house, kind of.
You live alone finally.
I live alone.
See whoever you want, whenever you want.
I make a good amount of money. I should probably just play the field and date around a lot, and I could just have a lot of fun.
The red pillars know what that is. It's called like juggling plates. Right?
Oh yeah. Spinning plates.
Spinning plates. That's what it is.
Spinning plates. Yeah. But I tell you, even though I'm like at a certain place, I immediately, as in within like a month, realized I haven't arrived.
Yeah.
Like that feeling of you being on a date, like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I very much felt that. And I actually just tried to ignore it because I was like, no, I should be having fun. And also, I don't know if the next level of success after this is even achievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then it took me some time to realize, damn, dude, actually we have to go back to what we used to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm currently going through right now, where I'm still seeing my girlfriend, but like 99, like I hadn't.
All the extra shit has been cut out.
The dating apps, I haven't been on them in like 6 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
And it's just way more focused. It's way more boring, but it's so pleasurable in a way that I can't describe, because I'm just like, I know I'm not jipping my potential anymore.
Yes.
And we're going to take this thing to the next level now. I feel like maybe you even, I don't know if you have, like gotten a tiny bit of sense that I am just, well, hopefully a little better to be around.
I can just yeah, exactly. From afar, I watched you when you were spinning plates.
Yep.
And versus now when you are with one woman and you are very, very self-focused.
Yep.
And just watching from afar, your level of happiness with yourself now is so much higher. I can't even say you were like happy with yourself back then.
No, dude, the whole spinning plates thing was not
he
fun.
Seemed miserable. Like I was getting no women at the time. I didn't envy him slightly because I looked at him and I was like, oh my God, every story you tell me sounds awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that's also, I feel like, another fallacy that's worth like dispelling. I don't think spinning plates like the red pillars say, I don't think it's going to fulfill you.
It's not that great.
It doesn't seem that fun.
Or maybe, I mean, what their counter argument to that be is that like I'm really not high status enough where I can spin
multiple,
like amazing plates, you know, like
super
plates.
easily.
It's such a weird
effort.
term, but like, yeah,
it is.
Yeah, I'm maybe I'm on somewhere, you know, it's called like the sexual market value, your sexual marketplace. I'm somewhere on there.
Yeah.
But I'm not like the cream of the crop. So the amount of work I would have to put in is still too high because it's just like I'm not, you know,
you're
whatever.
not the one.
Yeah, I'm not the.
So
I actually had this guy. I don't know. I actually want to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
There's this guy, Wheat Waffles.
Okay.
He's like a black pillar.
Yeah.
He's never shown his face, but he does like, I've told you about this. He like does facial analysis. He rates people's faces. And he also tells you how you can looks max.
Okay.
And he gave me a 5 out of 10. He says like the biggest demerit against me is that I'm Indian and like ethnic people are just inherently, you know, there's a prejudice against them.
Okay.
In like the dating world.
Yeah.
But notably, Chads are their own category. So if you're a Chad, you know the race thing doesn't apply to you.
Oh,
but I'm not quite a Chad.
Yeah.
You know, so like I'm a 5, and also you know he's like, you know, a couple things like you've got a compact mid face. He like broke it down scientific. He's like, you've got a compact mid face. You've got like almond shaped eyes, but you have too much like fat. He gave it like a scientific term. He's like, you have to, if you lower your body fat by a lot, then you'll go from a 5 to a 6, and that'll be your peak, and then you should go back.
Okay.
And but his whole theory is like your status, your whatever the conventional things that a red pillar would think of, you know, looks, money, status game, they don't matter. All it matters is looks.
Gotcha. What do I think of that?
What do you think? I mean, to me, I have no idea.
The thing is, man, like, I just don't trust a guy who doesn't show his own face.
Yeah.
And you're talking about looks are the most important thing. I want to see what you look like, and I want to see how. I want to also see like where you found that idea, because I disagree with it. Like, we see it all the time. We see chicks with guys who you're like, what are you doing with that guy? And I think for myself, even, I find myself attractive. I think I'm a good looking guy.
I think you are. You've definitely gotten much better looking than when I first met you. I think, yeah. I mean, you're above average. But I don't want to make that whole fucking thing like, yo, Thomas, you actually are really fucking pretty, sexy, dude. Yeah. Don't make it weird.
But I just like, I feel like I make up a lot of distance with like charisma, game, or whatever. Like, I think that shit is so important. I think status is hugely important. What you've built for yourself, I think all of that matters so much. If it were just looks, then yeah, the game would be
also
so
your
sad.
Looks honestly are impacted so much by things like the things that build up other things.
Yeah.
Like if you are someone who's just really on top of fitness and you also are just a hard worker in life, I mean, it just goes to show, like, the way you dress today versus when I first met you.
Yeah.
Everything's just so much more dialed in.
Yeah.
Everything's just, it's just, and I noticed this with myself, you know, when I'm just like, I have been on NoFap, I have been meditating. I'm like, I've been so consistent with the gym these last 4 months.
Yep.
You do look different.
100%.
You just look better. So it's almost like, why worry about obviously you can't even control your looks or your height or things like that.
Yes. And I think that a lot of that stuff is built over time. Like you said, it's like going to the gym. That takes a lot of time for your body, for your physique to get better. I think even becoming articulate, intelligent, a fun conversation. God, how bored have you been on some dates when you have to do all the legwork of the conversation? And even for me, a girl could be, base level of attractive.
Yep.
But if she's fun, oh my God, like
she gains
it raises
so
her
many
like 2 points. Like, you know, I hate to like break it down so numerically, but
whatever.
I'm just trying to emphasize that she becomes more attractive. I think the guy could be correct in the sense that, yeah, there has to be a base level of looks for me to even consider being with a woman, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you have to find her
attractive.
Beautiful, you know.
Yeah. And that I agree. That is step one.
Yep.
But if you can get yourself past step one with the way women perceive you, Like if you can just get your looks to a base level, which sadly at the end of the day, I guess that comes down to like genetics.
It's genetics.
And the way you treat your body.
But I'd say like the majority, at least 60% of guys, there's room to improve your like rating.
1,000%. You can max out your genetics.
You can max out your genetics and like, I will say some guys are truly fucked.
Yeah.
Like if a guy's like, I don't know, shorter than 5 feet or something, which is like, I never see that here in the West.
Yeah.
But if you're like very short or you're just incredibly ugly face, hey, maybe you are doomed, okay?
Maybe not even doomed. Like it just
like way harder.
Cuts the pool.
Yeah.
Cuts the available pool.
Yeah. Look, I'm not saying the game isn't rigged towards like naturally genetically gifted people.
And I think, I agree. And I think there's a self-awareness that you can have when you look at yourself and assess yourself to be like, are my standards real? Like even you and I have a self-awareness to where the women we can get,
Yeah, but I do think like any guy who, let's say, your reasonable, let's say your like reasonable genetic limit was a 5.
Yeah.
I would rather be a 5, but then have like Arnold Schwarzenegger's insane brain. Like that guy would turn into a 10.
1,000%.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's just one example of many people, but he's like self-made millionaire in a foreign country by the time he was 30.
Yeah.
Just like, obviously that brain, that intensity, that predatory, like hunting for his goals type of energy.
Yes.
It's undeniable.
Undeniable. And I think if you can access that, that's what we're trying to say. It's like,
and any guy can access that. Even the fucking ugly gremlin monster of a man. Granted, maybe he'll cap out from like a 1 to a 3, or maybe the 4 can only get to an 8. But like you can actually swing the odds so much in your favor just through sheer intense, just passion for your purpose.
And I think if you make that assessment and you look at yourself and you figure that out about yourself, that you're maybe low on the totem pole.
Yep.
That, at least for me, would motivate the fuck out of me. I'd be like, all right, I got to work harder than everybody else just to get the equal pickings. Yeah. Great, that's how it is.
That's how it is.
Accept that and like really
just go.
Let that make you angry.
Yeah. It's kind of a fun anger.
Yeah.
I feel. What would you say to guys like, let's say like, all right, fine, I'm down to do the thing. How do you get the ball rolling? Like, what are some tactical things we can do? Like, even I'm like mentally telling myself, screw it. You are low on the totem pole.
Yeah.
I just want to be everything I can be.
Correct.
Which is the same is true for you.
Yeah.
Hopefully the same is true for anyone who's still watching at this point.
Yeah.
What are the things we can do to just make that number go up, to get the ball rolling in the biggest way possible?
Yeah. First and foremost, you and I know this, go to the gym every day.
Dude, I didn't know. I thought I was working out.
Yeah.
I didn't know how far and how much the gym could take you, how much it could change your life.
Yeah.
It has changed everything about my mindset. Granted, I feel like at 4 or 5 months, you're still pretty early.
Yes, you are. You're still in like first year of lifting.
Yeah.
But lifting is a microcosm for everything else.
It has affected my entire mentality.
Yeah.
In every way. The gym, and it's like the compound effect I would talk about in so many aspects of life.
Yeah.
The compound effects exist so hard at the gym.
1,000%.
It's like you just learn because you work out more. You realize like, okay, I always had a problem with like, I loved to drink.
Yep.
In fact, some of the reasons I loved going on a date is just I loved that feeling of revelry.
Yep.
By no means was I an alcoholic.
No.
It would just be a fun night out, maybe 2 drinks, maybe 3 drinks.
Yep.
You go to the gym enough, you're like, I just don't feel like doing this.
Yeah.
And I never thought I'd say that, but I'm like, I would rather have my bench go up 5 pounds.
100%. Because you compare those two feelings.
Yeah.
There's no contest.
There's no contest.
Yeah.
I would rather just feel stronger. Like that knowledge that I have turned myself into a stronger person, it's so exhilarating. And it's going to carry forth in everything. So start with the gym. You should go every day.
Yeah.
Today was a rest day for me. Honestly, on your rest days, just still go anyway and just like fuck around a little bit.
Be light. Yeah. Go light, go for volume, do cardio.
Mobility,
you did cardio
whatever
today?
you want. Yeah, I did some cardio. I did some yoga, some stretching. Like whatever, just to recover.
Just
active
everything.
recovery.
Yeah.
The
go
gym
for a
is
walk.
Every day, go to the gym or get your sweat on a little bit.
Some kind of physical activity is necessary on a daily basis.
I would say the second one, and I kind of come in and out of this.
Yeah.
But I'd say the second one is meditation. Mm-hmm. Just because it helps you, it makes self-discipline easier.
Yeah.
And
And I think especially for the young guys who want to follow their path but haven't figured out what that looks like yet.
Yeah.
I think meditation and that stillness to think, your body and your mind are naturally going to produce ideas.
Yep.
And that time of stillness is the time to listen to those ideas.
Totally.
So I agree.
And then also somehow, it's like, I don't know what my path is. It just makes life a little bit luckier, like 5% luckier, where you just have a better chance of running into your purpose that day.
You're just a little more aware of everything. And if something strikes you the right way, you have that little hint of awareness. Yeah. Like, what was that? Yeah. That felt right. So and then you follow that feeling.
Yeah. So we got gym, we got meditation. Let's just come up with 3 more.
Yeah.
So what would you say? Like, what has moved the needle for you if you just think back? I'm thinking too.
Yeah, I would say like daily work at some skill.
Yeah, totally.
Some skill that you can improve and that you can monetize. So for you, that was like Salesforce.
Salesforce, yeah, it changed I would talk about it so much for like a year and a half on my channel. I would say it, like the way I would spin what you just said is like do 3 to 4 hours of work.
Yep.
It's like such a basic thing to say.
But like focused work on a skill that be deliberate about it.
Yeah, pick a skill.
Yeah.
Pick an action, pick a craft.
Yeah.
And get better at it that day. It's going to feel weird. Most days, they're not going to be optimal days of progress on it.
Yeah.
But just do it. Like for you, it's like you probably just got a little bit of better at editing.
Editing every day.
Like, yeah, and then even sometimes you do it when you can make it fun. That's when it's awesome. Like you work on a sketch.
Yeah.
It's immediately easier to make the next sketch.
Totally.
If you don't come up with any content for like 2 weeks, you feel like I can never do this again. Like, how did I even ever do this?
Yeah. The more time, it's like not going to the gym for a week.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave the house.
You just feel sluggish.
Yeah.
So just like work every day and don't work too hard. Like you don't have to grind 16-hour days because I would get intimidated by that. I'd be like, oh, I'm supposed to work all day. Oh, I missed this hour.
Yeah. I mean, your effectiveness, I used to do that.
Yeah.
I was that kind of like crazy guy who would like sleep 3 hours a night. And like my physical health just deteriorated, and I ended up just losing progress because I had to spend time recovering my health, and digging yourself out of a hole is so much harder than when you were getting yourself in it. And if I had just stayed consistent, I just know for a fact that I'd be much further along with my physique, with my skill. If I was a little bit more deliberate about getting the proper recovery, I would be in a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. For number 4, I guess I'm saying this now, the reading. Mm-hmm. Just because you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
Listen, real quick replug for our sponsor, Shortform. Give them some love, okay? Because I feel bad. Yeah. And it is genuinely a good service. Book summaries. But you should also be reading books in full.
In full.
And just restart with what interests you, but it'll like ingesting new information. And it doesn't just have to be reading. It can be podcast episodes. Hopefully this, for someone out there, is going to trigger a level of action. Like, let me try this today. Let me wake up and go for a run tomorrow. And
just trying to get valuable actionable information into your life. Doesn't even have to be like your natural self-help book, but I think Brandon Carter said it a while ago and it really resonated with me. And it's so simple. It's just when you know better, you do better.
That is so, yeah. In fact, sometimes self-help books are the least important thing you should be reading.
Yes.
Sometimes they're just so stupid. It's like, shut up.
The thing is, a lot of self-help books are so focused on tactics. And it's like, yeah, I can kind of max out my tactics and my efficiency.
Yeah.
But if it's not...
What's the meat of it, though?
Yeah, I can max out my tactics once I know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, in some ways, studying Salesforce, like that is the result of not reading books, but just taking in more knowledge that day.
Yeah.
On one day, I was just looking at job postings. Mm-hmm. I was like reading online articles. So I came across these terms like Salesforce, Eloqua. I realized marketing automation, that's a way of making money. And then I just started reading that. I didn't just like read some self-help book. I started reading about this thing that could make me money. And then what do you know? Like a year and a half later, I was making whatever, $70K for my day job, working not super long hours.
Yeah.
If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have been able to, I think nothing would have taken off because I would have been so financially strained. I don't think I would have actually met you had I not,
No, I mean, if you hadn't had the money to
the
disposable
house,
income to pay me, the
Yeah.
house to exist in,
yeah.
I don't think we would have ever met. I
would
think
have
you would
never
have
met.
saw my email, and you probably would even who knows if your channel would have been at the same place without the money.
Yep. Yeah. So just read, take in more information, and don't just read self-help. Like read to make more money.
Yes.
Or we get a better body. Like read for progress.
Read
like,
for progress.
Tactical progress, not just like generic like 5 ways to be more productive.
Yeah, stop looking for life hacks. You're not going to make it off of these little hacks on your day to day. Like those little things are not going to do it. You really have to address the fundamental things first.
Yeah, totally.
Like what are you spending your time doing? Is every day just, can you say you're going to do one thing every day that in a year will be like valuable? That's just make yourself valuable. That's it.
Okay, you get the last one. Okay, that makes it the hardest one. But
Yeah.
if we're coming up with a list of five ways, to make yourself maybe like a little bit better to get the ball rolling.
Get the ball rolling. I'm just trying to think of what I did.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm trying to think of like what you did too. Honestly, I have one for you because you kind of is like always keep your ear to the ground for the next thing.
Totally. Always keep your eyes peeled. Yeah.
I mean, can I say this? Thomas like got himself like a 50% salary raise, pretty much 40-50%. Just because he was fucking with my head for a little bit.
It's true.
Like there was a while where Thomas was making, I think, a fine salary, a good salary.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, some people might be envious of that rate.
I think so.
But he just started telling me about how, I'm editing for this podcast. I'm taking on this real estate gig. And I was like, what the fuck? Like,
and
why?
I tell him how much I made off of those things too. And I'd be like, oh, they're paying me more. That's weird.
I was like, hey, no one's going to pay this fucking guy more than me.
So, and I like still advocate the mentality. I still have like a very minor side gig. It's not much. It's not enough to be jealous about. It's like,
I mean, I would be like, I don't know if we would work well together if you weren't naturally like that. You know? Like we're both.
Because the thing is, if the roles were reversed, knowing your personality, I would expect that of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would always be, they say like, the most ambitious man, it makes in some ways for a bad employee because he's always trying to watch out for himself.
Yep.
And a lot of companies, what they want is like the loyal man to the company who's never going to think bigger than the company.
Yeah.
And in life, it's so, it's especially tough when things are going okay.
Yep.
Like this is actually good enough. Like, why should I put myself through the strain?
Yeah.
Going for the next, in Peaky Blinders, which I know you haven't seen yet, but in season 2, Thomas Shelby, he's like, we're going to expand to London.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, why should we? We're like rich.
We're on top.
Yeah. We're living rich in Birmingham. Like, it's going to be so painful. You got the Italians over there. You got the Jews, the Jewish mafia.
Yeah.
And, and like that they're dangerous people. Like, why do you want to take them on? And he's like, well, because, that's what we do. We keep expanding. Keep expanding.
That. It's just, you got to like, you never rest on your laurels, because I feel like you didn't get here. You didn't get where you are now by saying this is good enough.
Yeah.
You did it by looking at your situation and being like, I want a lot more. And I think as men, it's natural for us to want more, and that's how we made ourselves valuable in the first place. Why would we forsake everything that got us here? That mentality that got us here, that's what's going to get you further. It's not the mentality, the work on yourself thing. We're talking about it in some context of like, eventually you'll be able to like get the women you want and have the lifestyle you want, and that's true. But it's not. It's the embracing the mentality is not so you can just throw it to the wayside once you get here. Not even here. I don't know where I am.
Yeah, but once you get the girl that you're doing all this work for, you're actually not going to be any happier. Like, it's not going to solve your problems. The problem is you have to keep going. Like, life demands that you keep making progress.
And it's like we advocate embracing the mentality, like not for these like almost superficial material gains along the way.
Yep.
We advocate this because it's a lifestyle, it's a way of life that we find fulfillment in.
That's real fulfillment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes peeled, keep your ear to the ground. You're doing it, like why would we be taking on ads outside of the YouTube channel if you were not keeping your eyes and ears alert,
Totally.
Making digital products, doing stuff like if you didn't have your eyes and ears to the ground, you could just be making little
the
A-rolls
same, the
every
same
time.
5 ways to be productive
Yeah.
for the rest of my days.
Exactly.
Some YouTubers do it. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, again, we see the people who have done the things. We see the Chads who didn't put in the work.
Yeah.
We see the people who rest on their laurels after achieving a little bit of success. And after a while, time catches up. And we don't envy them. Like,
in fact, in reference to those Chads, there's this great quote from Rushmore, which might be like the only Wes Anderson movie
that
you
I have
haven't
not seen. I know.
Yeah, even though I know you love Wes Anderson. But Bill Murray, he grew up to be a very rich man, but he started out as a poor kid, and he went to this rich school, Rushmore. And he says, I'm not talking to the rich kids here. He's like at an assembly as a guest speaker. He's like, I'm talking to those handful of poor kids who are here. Is like, take dead aim at the rich kids and take them down.
Love it.
And then, so let's close out this podcast episode here. Your early 20s suck.
Yep.
But they don't have to stay shitty. You got to keep going, keep working on yourself.
Yes.
And hey, thanks for watching this one. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Greatness will come when you're like 26.
Or later.
Or later.
All right.
Don't get too hasty.